We'll call this meeting to order at 7:30. We will call the roll. Here.
Trustee Mark Peterson. Here. Trustee Kate McNally. Here. Assessor Jan Churchwell. Here. And Administrator and Deputy Clerk Larisha Hopkins.
Here.
Do you have any trustees participating on that?
Stephen said he was either going to call me or Zoom in.
I am not seeing any participants, which makes me nervous. So thank you. Would you mind checking in with James just to make sure we're not there isn't two different? Right, and I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay.
We'll continue by pledging allegiance. Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, it's been a few weeks. As we all know, we moved our board meeting this month to today, July 22nd, to ensure we had a quorum, and there is a quorum for business. Which reminds me, one of the things to report on is that I presented on parliamentary procedure at Township officials of Cook County. So we all know that 3 members of a 5-member board constitute quorum. Special rule for townships. So it was a great program. Sadly, I didn't get a chance to see many of the other breakouts, but because I was presenting, but I did get to see our own Jerome Hoynes being inducted again as the secretary. So that was always good. And our state treasurer, Mike Ferricks, gave us a shout out and like $20. So via iCash, not in unclaimed property. So that was lovely. He's always a very good speaker about the importance of local governments. As you likely have gotten a postcard, he does host a local government event in August at the state fair. So feel free to go. I have a hotel reservation that I'm not going to use, so if anyone wants it, I got like the one good place in Springfield. So that is August 17th. It's the Sunday. Oh wait, it's the Saturday. 16th. Yep. Let me know before I cancel it. Speaking of TAC, we had a TAC supervisors meeting at Northfield Township recently, welcoming in a lot of new supervisors, taking over for either retiring supervisors or full electoral change on their boards. So some had a lot of questions. We had our own agency partner, Youth Services of Glenview, see the speaker. Amy did a great job discussing how they use art and play to engage kids in therapy and on the various creative ways that they've been able to reach people. So that was wonderful. Speaking of youth services, I also went to their reopening celebration for their building had been expanded, a massive expansion. The building looks fabulous. And got to see some of those play areas and our therapy rooms. They have said that they have increased therapy hours by 50% since 2020 and have almost eliminated their wait list. But that was a very exciting event to see both us and Northfield, which you know they're one of the many agencies that we split support for to allow us to have a robust set of agencies that serve both of our townships. I had a chance also to celebrate Northfield Township's pantry reopening. They did another massive expansion. They've taken over their entire building at this point. Over the last 4 years, there's been a lot of change on their footprint. They have a very large pantry clientele. I think it's 1,000 families. To compare, we're at 300. So a very big footprint. As a benefit of them upgrading, we received some lovely refrigerators. So nothing goes to waste. They are now filled with eggs and produce and keep our produce fresh longer. So everybody is everybody's supportive. So we're all here on the same team, which is going to be very important as we work together to try to fill any gaps in service that may be occurring as the federal government gets out of the business of supporting extended Medicaid and SNAP programs, LIHEAP programs, which also came up at our supervisors meeting. Speaking of new supervisors, I was able to go up to Wheeling Township to tour their food pantry and learn about their setup as well. They also have a large building and a large setup. They're the largest township in Cook County by population. And they'd already been doing pantry use by family size, which we are working on implementing right now, and have had some hiccups. So we're trying to learn from other people's experience. But they interestingly are only open, I believe it's twice a week. Was it 3 times a week?
I think it's
3 times a week.
And it calls for.
And it's only a few hours too. And then they have evening hours. So it's a very different model. And then they have emergency bags for in between those times, but it is very, they're very evident that there is no one way to have a pantry, but we can learn from each other. Yep. Oh, good. Yep. Oh, there he is. Speaking of which, I had a call with our Oakton partners over at the Oakton College Foundation. They were concerned that this year, because we endowed our scholarships going forward, we do not have a substantial amount in our current scholarship fund for this coming year. Again, federal priorities are going to make it more difficult to receive federal funds and grants. So I had sent out an email to all of you. Please share our fundraising website. I've asked Melanie for us to do fundraising efforts as we get closer to fall starting. But we do want to be able to offer some scholarships this year. And yep, so please do share that. And if you are so inclined to donate as well. And as we come up with those fundraising events, please share those as well and attend. Cancer Wellness Center had a lovely reception. I went with Steve. They also talked about an increase since COVID, 20% increase in diagnosis of cancer. Since during COVID, people were putting off their preventive care, and sadly, that meant some people did not catch it as quickly as would be ideal. They showed off their space, which is just wonderful. Includes a yoga room, plenty of therapy rooms, and a library, just a wonderful space. The speaker talked about grief and working through his own grief with his wife and her passing. So I am working with Melanie on taking some of our agency resources on grief, because that is one of the things that we get asked a lot about, is about specifically counseling and groups for those who are dealing with that. Commissioner Britton held a Juneteenth event at Glencoe that I went to represent the township on the Underground Railroad, and specifically Underground Railroad spots in Northern Illinois. Very fascinating. It really focused on the forest preserves. So if you're interested in that, they do offer sometimes tours of these various spots. They're mostly on the south side of Chicago, but otherwise they do think that some people came up north to get to Canada. We were, still fugitive slave law here. Senator Julie Morrison, who covers our Glencoe portion, hosted a lovely advocacy fair, which featured a number of our agency partners that I was able to attend for the township, such as Senior Center, Legal Aid, and Keshet, our newest agency partner. We also had our strategic planning meeting. Thank you to Kate for coming for that. I'm sure a lot of you participated as well. We will be having our closing meeting tomorrow, so hopefully you'll have some sort of work product from that in the coming weeks. We also engaged in our first mid-year reviews, my knowledge being at the township. So we had instituted annual reviews in this time period, and now adding in a more formal mid-year review process, make sure everybody is on the same page. We also Jean was invited to go speak at the Park District of Wilmette, and I was able to come with her to speak about our summer camp scholarship program, which we approved in the last couple of weeks, and about our partnership with the Park District. So it has been a busy couple of weeks, and it'll only be busier. Do please tell everybody you know about our services and deadlines that are coming up, because especially the before and after care scholarships deadline will be in mid-August. So keep abreast of those. Any questions on supervisor's report? There's a lot to cover there. That's just what I posted on my Facebook. We're trying. Yes, exactly. So you can make donations for the food pantry, both obviously physical downstairs, monetarily through our website. So we now have electronic. There's always somebody who wants to send a check. There's information on how to do that as well. Yep. We've had a lot of lovely food drives from our various community organizations. You know, we traditionally don't get as many donations in the summer. But it looks pretty good. Yeah. Oh, that's important too. And the food pantry looks lovely downstairs. After this meeting, we can take you downstairs. Yep. Yep. Is there anything well, obviously, if we could have $1 million, that would be wonderful. But we also have to realize that they are serving larger populations. And I always, that's always something I have to remind myself, that we are lean and mean. But yes, every time I'm there, I'm looking at ways we can improve. Some of the lessons went into those mid-year reviews as ideas for improvement. So, yep. So let the record reflect that Trustee Tucker has arrived. Trustee Tucker is still trying to get in. Okay, we'll check in on that. Trustee Tucker, are you participating virtually pursuant to our remote participation policy or not?
Yes, just right, participating per the policy. So I understand I cannot vote, but I definitely wanted to be part of the meeting tonight and perhaps comment here and there as needed. And sorry about that. I got booted off of Zoom. I was on and then was booted out. So
I had to restart it. That's probably what it was. Okay,
yeah.
So but not for a reason under the policy that allows you to participate.
Yes, I'm out of town, so I could not be present tonight. So thank you for the accommodation.
Absolutely. All right. We are now in line for approval of the minutes of May 13th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? I will second. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Under supervisor's report, the second bullet point is comment on a period. Second to last bullet needs to also have a comma and then the word "and" at the end. Under clerk's report, the third bullet point needs to have the word "and" at the end. Under the assessor's report, the second bullet point needs the word "and" at the end. Under New Trier Township budget and appropriation ordinance, the trustee name needs to be corrected. The trustee from South McNally. Also, under reconvene to regular board meeting, I'm not we might want to just double check if that's correct, because we adjourned to public hearing. Oh yeah, I guess that is right, isn't it?
I think so.
To do that?
Yeah.
Under the acknowledgement of staff reports, after if we could change that to the board responded to issues brought up in the staff reports, including. That's all I have for May.
We'll stop there. Any additional discussion on May? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as edited? And I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye. All right, none opposed. We'll go to June 2025. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the June 2025 meeting minutes as presented, please say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, they are approved. Clerk's report.
So I'm delighted that Trustee Peterson's comment about the supervisor representing the township very well. Okay, I noted that at the meeting that Supervisor Agner mentioned, and I serve as secretary at the top board. And I'm just saying, Mark, that's a big deal to see the way Gail is making friends all over the place. Because we get all sorts of information and ideas every meeting. So it was great to have you at that other one. And I'm just, TAC has substantially raised the caliber of their programming, including the ones that you were part of, that I was part of. It's very exciting, and that was my comment. Well, I like what you said about all the events that you guys are attending, because they do always reflect well in the township and whatever. So the only I had two other items. Well, that was I was thrilled to be at that meeting and serve in this role. And then one other note is a longtime township clerk, Sheila Mitchell, passed away. And unfortunately, it's the same day as the state fair thing, but on August 16th. One of the main things you should know about Sheila, she served as clerk for 12 years. She served through some really challenging times for township, as they always seem, but she knew some of the greats like Georgie Noyes that we honor in the award. She and so many other people, Betty Vitale, who's honored.
Absolutely. Thank you for representing us there. Financial report. I will make James our host.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Let me share my screen. All right, so let's walk through the 4 months into June 30th. We'll start just with some revenue highlights. Again, a little bit on the macro side. We did have a CPI read of 2.7% on a 12-month look back. So that's up from 2.4 the month prior. And remember, this year's CPI is 2.9 when we go to levy in November and December. Again, the Fed is not moving anytime soon, I don't think, on rates. So that bodes well for us in terms of our investments. We're 33% of the way through the year, or 4 months in. You can see unchanged in terms of taxes. We're at 52%. I should say we received the first installment, so we're at 52%. Again, that's pretty normal for us. The second installment is going to be delayed. We have not seen the extensions come out yet. So I'm expecting hopefully October, November, as they were on time last year. But remember, the 2 years prior to that, it was late. So we'll wait and see there. Replacement tax is in at 33%, so on the number, about $19,500 collected there. Interest, that looks like it's going to be an outperformer at 78% already of the budget. We collected $39,000, and then passport fees in at 42%, at about $12,600. So just north of $2 million in terms of revenues. $3.9 million is the budget, so we're at 52% again on that first installment. That looks very good. And then as we go into the line by lines for expenditures, agency programs right there at 30, just north of 33%. It's like 33 and some change. So that stays green. And then child care services at 43. We did have our summer camp scholarships payout. So that's why that skewed upward slightly. Everything else here looking really good in terms of where we are in the year. Contractual services, we know we've got some upfront payments for the website, the civic and IT support, civic clerk, and IT support. So that kind of skews the percentages up a little. Office supplies, again, much smaller budget here. That's at 42. Some other expenses, again, on a much smaller budget at 56. And then the building repairs here and maintenance at 50%. But all in, we look very good. 1.2 million spent, 4 million is the budget. We're at 30%. Then I always like to look at our buy fund percentages, and both of those at 33% or below. So we're at 30% for the town, 33% for GA. 823,000 in surplus to start the year. Almost 3 million is what the beginning fund balance was. So we're about 3.1 million in ending fund balance, and that's very close to our cash position.
Great.
Look at the distribution. Taxes lead the way, 97%. Replacement tax 1, interest almost 2, passports 0.6. Then as we look at the expenditures, agency programs at about 49%, childcare now it's 6, contractual services 8, the assessor 2, building expenses at about 8%, financial assistance 9, the pantry 4, personnel 12, elected officials 1. So revenues over expenditures, again, we've got about half that taxes and we're only 4 months of expenditures, so I would expect to be in a surplus at this point. Again, there you can see all the percentages. We did have that double payment on the Glencoe Youth Services where we had to have an additional payment there. That's why you see that one skewed above that 33. And then outside of that, just some of what I had mentioned. Here are the summer camp scholarships coming in at 97%. That's already been paid. We scroll down into some of these other line accounts. You can see websites, civic clerk, both of those paid in full at 100% of the budget. Some other expenditures for some IT support, that's at 55. So again, these are the things that kind of skew that percentage above where we are in the year. Again, office supplies, fairly minor there in terms of the increase. And then insurance is part of that building expense. So the insurance, mainly for liability, that's at about 110. So a little bit over what we budgeted there. And building repairs at about 43. Other than that, most of these percentages at or below that 33%, and again, all in just about 30%. If we look at the book balances across all our investments, again, we've got really nice separation here. We did make an investment to Illinois funds, but that'll be reflected in the July statement. So from the town fund, right now, though, we're sitting just north of 3 million, just basically that fund balance. And you can see we've got some smaller percentages on interest earned from BMO, but again, the real bang for the buck is in our Sorafel Dudo managed accounts at Schwab, and then Illinois funds will be above 4% in terms of their returns as well. So that's really good positioning on our part, as I do think the Fed is going to have to digest tariffs, and it's going to take longer. If there is a cut coming, it's going to take longer. It won't be at this next meeting from them. But that's all I have for tonight. I'd be happy to take any questions from the board.
You probably have the question about the double payment issue. So one check was missing.
Yeah, Glencoe Youth Services has that weird 3-check thing for all of the different programs.
So SNAP,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did not realize,
but the smallest one was
the
missing.
last of February check was missing. So they needed us to do that by the end of their fiscal, which was July 1. So that's the reason why, because I actually looked back at the financial report and we actually did miss it in the financial report at that board meeting, but that's also a very busy board meeting. So it was like that one last payment for $3,333. So it's going to take that line item just up a little bit.
So we'll just be cognizant of that. Any other questions?
Page 29 of the board packet. I know that Alicia pulled this out in her remarks, but I know that it's something that we're working on with the concept that we have things that are outstanding checks from January drives me bananas.
Yep.
And so, I really think that we should have the 60-day limit on the checks.
I did. I put it on the checks now.
Oh,
The recent checks. Some of it, though, I think is journal entries, and I think it's just the way that the report picks it up. So Tim and I have a meeting like once every couple of weeks when we do payroll, and we're going to talk about them again because some of them, just from looking at them, I can tell that it's like either ACH payments. This report will automatically like categorize it as unclear because it's not a physical check. So
it's 4 of them that are exactly the same.
that's community support grant checks too. So that's another reason why we switched over to that. It's void after 60-day rule, because that'll go on forever.
questions.
I have a question. And sorry, it's breaking up, so it's hard to hear all of you in the actual meeting. But could you refresh my memory on the Illinois funds? Was that the presentation that came in some time ago on investing in like a township group of funds? And how much did we actually then transfer over and invest? And what do we see going forward between Schwab and this new Illinois fund? Thank you.
Thank you for the exact numbers. But yes, it was the presentation from Aaron Sloan from the Illinois Treasurer's Office.
Okay.
They do essentially their own managed fund, and I was very impressed with the returns that they were seeing. We have been discussing diversifying our investments, and this would allow us to have additional investments. But James, what was the total?
Yeah, it was 250,000 was made on July 10th.
July 10th, yeah.
Okay.
So we will watch the returns and see how they go, but we're not, taking anything out of Schwab at this point. We're just having additional investments.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Yes, it's on our website. Yep. Nope. Yep. Yeah, they're meant for government entities. So they're following all of the legal requirements that essentially just got put into our policy. So is only governments. So actually the Treasurer's Office, if you recall from your observation, had asked us to also slip in favor in the General Assembly for a similar fund for nonprofits so that our agencies could do the same. They weren't able to participate in this program. So that is sitting on the governor's desk, to my knowledge. So I did sign on to a letter of those who had signed on in the legislature saying, fine. So hopefully that's on, it's coming. Can't imagine why you wouldn't. So, all right. Any other questions? You also have the investment report from Sawyer Phil Dudo in your packet. So I'm guessing that Samsung SM is Trustee Moser, who is not participating pursuant to the remote policy, but participating pursuant to himself. So thank you for joining us. But that means that I need someone else to make a motion for the verification of claims.
I would like to accept the verification of claims from the town funds and general assistance funds from June 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2025 as presented to the board this evening.
Is there a second? All right, any additional discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Supervisor Edmer?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson? Yes. Trustee Patel? No.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Okay. Back to Assessor's report. Assessor Churchwell.
Personal business, so all quarters 1 and 2, all the stats will appear next month before the board meeting, because I will actually be in course but I want to make sure all statistics are out before the last minute. And before I have 2 days when I can't look at them. So our results from the assessor were published yesterday. So we don't, I've heard from some people who were asking questions, we don't have any results yet, so at least I can say, yes, there are results, we didn't like them, but they're here. So, and we've been getting ready for the board of review, because since the timing is simply such that since the board of review cannot officially open any jurisdiction until the assessor is signed off on it, because the data isn't completely verified until that point. So, but as soon as we close, we know we're in the loop going forward. So we figured since we were early opening at the assessor's office, we would also be early opening at the works for us. The second batch was just announced yesterday as well. If things go as I assume they will, we could open early as now, August 4th. And I would guess probably no later than the week after that. So we've already talked to Commissioner Steele. We had a meeting with her on the 3rd. And we will set a date for an outreach event for their personnel to come up here and work with people. And I plan to take advantage of her very kind offer, which we did not need last year, being only in the 3rd year of the try, but this year I think it makes a big difference. She has offered, beginning as of last year, she has sent personnel up from her staff to the township offices to assist in actually helping people file appeals at a time, not as part of an outreach event, sitting in the office during business hours just to help with the flow.
Lovely.
And yeah, I think, and it's a great, I think it's a great addition for us, and the people who did take advantage of it last year said they were, it really was great to have the extra 4 bodies in the office who knew what they were doing. And since they can bring their own equipment along, we don't have to supply the computers or anything. So, we don't need to worry about not having anything, having willing hands, but nothing for them to work on. They're all set. So we will arrange for that. Our one concern has always been the way the online format works. The board of review has pre-filing, which they encourage people to do, although we're never quite sure why, because they can't do anything until the window opens anyway. But the way the format is set up, when you get to the very end, you set up your account and you can't enter comps because information isn't available yet. So all you're really doing is getting your account ready to go. And at the very end, just before you hit submit, there is a little box on the very last page that says, do you want to submit data later? Well, the default is no.
Mhm.
And people often skip that. They go, oh, here's the last page, submit, boom. Well, now you're stuck.
Mhm.
Now you aren't going to be able to submit. Now they will let you. Oh my God, I didn't know I couldn't do that. Call, yes, thank you, we'll let you do it. But obviously, do that as a minimum. So we have been telling anybody who asks, we'll send you our online filing guide. If you want to pre-file, feel free. We recommend that you don't, but you don't miss this step. Say you want to submit data later, because otherwise you're stuck with what they come up with. And given the the 3 different sets of analysts from 3 different all parts of the county, with us concentrating only on residents from Nuclear Township, we don't care what happens. It's much or anything. So we would like to have hand in preparing comps for anybody who wants it, because we will work harder at trying to get the best ones that because we know the houses here rather than just what we put on paper. So that's our personal shtick, which we try to say very politely, let us know with this rather than just roll over what the board wants.
You know what your percentage is of people having success in the township and appealing?
We have what we've done for the past couple of years, the dollar amount of success, but we haven't checked the actual percentage. The overall percentage is generally in this paper articles is the people who file on their own, and we include ourselves as on your own, as opposed to using an attorney.
Sure.
Have a slightly better chance of getting a reduction than those who use attorney, which is one of those like 50.5 to 49.5, something like that. Very, very close. So, people are always asking, should I get an attorney? What's better? Should I do it myself? And the answer is, point, take your choice, but yeah, we're here to help. The bottom line, of course, isn't how many people get reductions, but how good reductions do they get? Because the assessor always says, for instance, 50% of people get reductions. Yes, they do. They get $1,000, maybe $2,000 off $1 million. The board of review pays attention and tries to restore that. They say their function is to restore equity. And as you mentioned, what Len saw, and I looked at it and I agree with him. Our impression of what the 2025 reassessment was, which so that the sale to bear it out according to what the assessor says, is that he basically wiped out all of the changes all of the reductions that have happened since 2022. And the increases are actually, if you look at them in terms of the 2022 reassessment, they don't look so awful. But if you look at them as a result, as of the 2024 adjustments after 3 years, they are terrible high percentage. More and more, much more so even than 2022. And 2022 we thought was a bloodbath. We don't even have a word for this year.
Right.
Of course, there is always the fact that we don't hear from people. Hopefully that means there were at least some happy people in the township. But it isn't until now when he's done with his reassessment that we can process the statistics and say here's what actually happened. And we do that. But I don't know when we get around to doing that. And then the only other thing is there has been no more update on the second tax bills for last year. So we have actually our next lunch on Friday, but there wasn't any hint in the information about the lunch that there will be news. So we're still holding with whatever's in the newspapers that the bills will not be due before September 1st. But we don't know whether they will be closed for longer than that. So that's basically it.
So you said they're done, but have they been released?
Yeah, they're released. They're published. They have the results. The results are out. People who did appeal have to have written notices. They will be published in the Thursday supplement to Trim a week from Thursday, July 31st. So that's the final thing. So they're done in that we can get the data. They're not done in the requirements.
Okay. Look, I just looked and I'm like, I haven't gotten mine. Okay. Right.
I can, if you want, I can look it up.
We'll do that. Yep. Because I want to know.
Actually, you can look it up. Come to think of it.
Well, just look.
on the assessor's website.
I'm on it. Anyway, you'll show me if I'm not doing it right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I know this is the hardest one, so.
To get, get as many people acquainted with what's going on and trying to demystify.
Sure.
And then, they can talk to us. If they don't, if I call county and I was on hold for an hour.
Yeah.
We don't call you back either because we're too busy. But you'll hear from us sooner or later.
All right, legislative report was mostly about that treasurer's bill. And we had talked about how we were concerned that certain bills could be resuscitated, and they were not. So that's the update, was that successfully people got the message across of the importance of townships, which of course right now is paramount. Certainly not the time to cut your food pantry. Acknowledgement of staff reports. We have received staff reports. Does anyone want to take anything from the staff reports for discussion?
For the administrative report, I am not sure about the right way to approach this, but I'm interested in the perspective about the merit-based raises. I don't know if that's something that we need to discuss as a board, if we need to put on a future agenda. I don't know what the right way is to approach that, but I am
So how we've generally done raises for the following year is I've brought to the board proposed raises. They have not always been lockstep. So there's nothing in our policy manual requiring lockstep or COLA increases or anything like that. So I'm happy to have discussions offline individually, but I'm inclined from my conversations with Larisha to consider, as I always do, everyone as an individual, in particular this year. So my recommendations will likely not be in lockstep this year.
If memory serves from our strategic planning process. I think that the meeting that you guys are going to be having on the 23rd is where, Corey's going to be presenting kind of the pre-document. I will leave it up to you as to whether you think that it's, worth having her come to the, board meeting after that to kind of talk through it, or if it's, kind of self-explanatory. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But I defer to you guys on that one. I thought it was great.
She did a great job.
Very
Yep.
successful. I loved it. I'm really glad we did that. As I mentioned earlier, before and after 60 days, one past due. This is Melanie's report with respect to the Winnetka Farmers Market. She didn't note it in her report, but it was in an email that we got, and so I just want to make sure that if people saw the report but didn't see the email, she did put out a sign up genius for to kind of come and table with her. And I just left has nobody signed up, so I am going to sign up for an hour, and it would be really great. I think if we could get more than just her signature.
Oh yes, I was waiting for you to let other people because I'm pretty free.
If there's anything that she needs or whatever ahead of time, this is a great opportunity to kind of get in front of people. Similarly with the Veterans Day breakfast, if she needs help with that, for the environmental town hall, that stuff. With the website redesign, I have been, me and my mom, I have been thinking it might be nice to have for things that we do a QR code that goes not just to the township page, but to a page with their own, I don't know, subpage or whatever, that talks about the Mayor's Monarch Challenge and features some of the art and stuff like that. If it's reasonable to do, to ask whatever, that would be cool. If not, no big deal. I love the idea of modernizing the front entrance with kind of, the more modern display, all about that. Really great idea. And I want to commend Melanie for a really great, very detailed report. That was talked about. And then with,
And save all the dates on here. There's a lot of good
There's
days.
a lot of good stuff coming.
Yep.
With Arnold's report, I wanted to specifically call out the stuff about the summer essential bags. I was randomly in the office when a client was coming in, received one, and was on the verge of tears. It was an incredibly moving thing. Forget, that yes, we are feeding people and helping people, but the summer sun and the bugs around here, and so just being able to find other ways, unique ways when we have them in the office. I think that this was, again, I wouldn't know unless I was here, and we are really needing. And I give him a lot of credit. Gail, I know this is your idea. I give you a lot of credit for it.
And we had a lot of great teenage volunteers who helped put them together because there was a lot of bags to make. We've had a lot of wonderful volunteers that Arnold has really made a great use of our community. So
I wanted to just talk about the mirror thing real quick. The reason why I bring the mirror thing up is because some employees have come to me because, technically our standard has been, whatever the raises are, it's across the board, right?
so it is not a policy, just happens.
Right.
It has
just happens
often been
way.
that way.
Yes. So
Often.
I just put it out there because I'm the administrator and I manage everybody, right? So just to represent everybody's interests and, not make it seem like I'm just sitting on it, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, I didn't see a.
Nope.
Okay.
Restorative justice.
Are we on it?
Well,
Thinking about it, talking about it?
well, we're emailing saying that it needs to be done, and he's aware. So
It's being communicated.
Just because you're not in the room and you can't see our faces very clearly, it's just that that Brian's board report wasn't in here, and I know that you're going to be looking into kind of the youth court concept, so it's just a something to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Anything else on the staff reports? Seeing none. New business. There was a recommendation from trustee Moser to add a student member to each advisory committee. Is there a motion to that effect?
So
Is there a second? Trustee Moser, as it is your initiative, would you like to speak to the?
Sure.
To the
Can you hear me?
yes, perfect.
Okay, so when I looked into it a little bit, I thought that there were one of three ways to go. One would be, which we used to do, would be to have two students on the board. Gail, you and I talked about that. That wasn't really a preference of yours. The others would be to form a youth committee, which we used to have, and it was made up primarily of youth within the township. And it also, at some point, was also overseeing some of the youth programs. The third option is to go ahead and put one or two youth members on each of the committees. And my only question with regard to that is whether or not it makes sense to put youth on committees that don't deal with youth issues. But that's kind of how I came down on it. I looked at some research, and all over the country, there's more and more initiatives to get youth involved in local government politics. There was a big study out of the University of Wisconsin in Madison on this specific topic. So I think we're moving in the right direction. It's just a matter of which way we want to proceed.
I do, speaking to whether you want people on committees who don't, when it's not a youth commission, for the life stages, for instance, I do think you'll get people who are interested in working in the disability space or working in the mental health space who will be interested in joining an advisory committee on those topics, separate from just involved in the youth-centered centers, if you will.
Yeah, I guess one of my questions would be, where are we getting the youth? And now you're looking for 6 individuals to fill the 3 committees, correct?
Well, the current motion is for a student member. It can be
Oh, I
amended
thought,
to 2. I have no strong preference. I have started speaking to Steve during that mid-year process about anticipating that this might pass, and discussing, recruitment for that. Working with Melanie to send out an email to all of our high schools, volunteer center, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, any of those kinds of initiatives.
and I will tell you that when we did our research for the decennial, we had some youth that came in who actually worked with Haven, and there were a couple of them that were very enthusiastic. I don't know where they are in their careers at this point, if they graduated or they're seniors, but Elliot had a pretty good handle on that. So I can also reach out to Elliot and see what his thoughts are on the matter.
Right. So we would do an application process similar to what we currently do, and recommend students to the board to appoint.
In terms of who we're thinking about, would this be something where you would have to be in a township high school, between 9th and 12th grade? Would you have to be resident of the township, not just attend a high school within the township? If anybody homeschools around here, but is that a thing? Who would be choosing these people? Would there be any kind of advisory over them? Have we talked with our attorney about any liability with having underage people in the building after hours? Would we be thinking about doing it this year, or would we be doing it next year? Is this something where we would be, having somebody come on for the full cycle? I love this idea. I just want to make sure that this is a fully date concept, and that we were thinking through all of the what have yous.
The current motion would be to add them now, as in start recruiting for this upcoming cycle. And that's why it's presented today, so that it can be in time for this cycle. I am not as concerned about liability of people being here after dark, because there's many people here. We've made it a priority not to have anyone here alone. It would be similar to, we have youth who volunteer all the time at various times. We obviously have toward immunity, which is always useful. And we have insurance. But we would be using, at my discussions with Steve was that we would use the same form, which does say we require to be a resident. And we have turned people back who were not. That can be an amendment. Right now, the resolution is student. So I do think that a 9th through 12th is probably the right maturity level. My guess, however, is, our recruitment will be our recruitment. And if we recruit in high schools, we'll get high school. But yes, I would entertain a motion for it to be a high school student who's a resident of New Hampshire Township, to be clear. Is there such an amendment?
Yes.
Is there a second to amend the motion to require that the student be a resident high school student? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Any opposed? None. We're back to now the motion as amended.
Structures that other townships have done similar to this.
Good question. I did not ask, which is unusual. I will tell you that Highland Park does it, where I grew up, which is Braintown. Like the village itself does it. They have a youth member of each of their commissions.
How they set it up.
Yeah, so they had one, I believe it was one member for each.
Gail or Supervisor. I kind of echo Trustee McNally's comments. It would be nice to have some sort of an outline of what's being proposed before we actually have to vote on it. You see in peer jury, it's a pretty robust application process to get 10th through 12th freshmen in high school. I think tend to be a little immature, especially with confidential information. And there's a process to go through, and it's thought out, and there's an outline. And so I think it would be helpful to have some of that before us, so we can really consider what sort of program we're looking at. And then I would also have this as a pilot program that is definitely reviewed in a year to see if it makes sense. I know, like the Village of Winnetka, we have a student member on the Environmental and Forestry Commission. It works well, but it was long in development and thought out, and the council had a lot of information on it before they took that thoughtful step. It can be very helpful to have students. Their insight, their perspective can be very helpful. But, I feel like this is coming at us blind and without additional information. And perhaps, there should be more information put forth before we actually go ahead and hurry up and get somebody on a committee this fall just because we need somebody on a committee. That doesn't make sense to me.
I hear you.
The other thing that I thought about is, a joiner myself, I can imagine a situation in which people who are peer jurors, they want to apply to this. And in that situation, do we have them choose one or the other? Or, would we consider having people who are peer jurors also serve on this? It's something I'm picking up, because I would do it all.
Oh, yeah.
If I were presented with that option in high school, I would
Absolutely.
add it to the resume. But
Yeah.
it's just something to consider.
So like I said, I was intending to use just the same application form. So it would not, there wouldn't be a thumb on the scale as far as current volunteers or not current volunteers, but it would be a consideration. And then Steve would present us with recommendations for our approval. But I am hearing an appetite for a more developed program. Is there a motion to table the motion to the next meeting? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, seeing that it is tabled. Trustee Moser, if you could try to put something together with how you envision the participation, and we can talk together as well.
That's fine. I'm happy to do that.
Wonderful. And maybe take a look at what Winnetka did. Since Jessica, do you remember when it was when they did? Remember when they went through the process?
Yeah, it was some time ago, but I can try and help get some information on that as well for Trustee Moser. And I appreciate the thought and the motion. So, and thank you for the consideration to dive into it a little more.
Absolutely. Oh, no, I'm saying Highland Park, not Moraine, like the village itself, so town itself. Yes. Yeah. We do know people in Moraine. But no, I don't think they do. Yeah. They have people there. Yes. Certainly Julie Morrison's thing was West Deerfield, Moraine, and me. Continuing business. Anyone have continuing business for our consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor, please say aye. Seeing any opposed, seeing none, we are adjourned, 8:27. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.